Nikki, 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 can't you see?
I didn't leave the group to pursue a solo career. What happened was I was getting treated bad in the camp.
Remember mindless behavior. The real reason they disappeared will leave you speechless. They had the world at their feet. 4 young stars who danced, sang, and inspired millions.
We get it, got his blonde in his cut. He got his hair right there.
But behind the glitter and glory were secrets that would eventually destroy everything.
Camp, you know, I was being called names. I was being called sociopath. And at one point, they tried to turn the guys against me.
From shocking fights and legal troubles to depression and manipulation, their downfall became one of the most tragic stories in modern pop.
As you get older, you start realizing, like, hold up, it kind of feel like you're just being used in a way. It's like, man, I'm working my butt off, but I feel used. Yeah. And then,
what really happened to the boys who once defined a generation? Let's dive in. By 2013, the foundation of mindless behavior began to crumble publicly. It started quietly, not with a major scandal, but with the sudden departure of the group's lead voice, Craig "Prodigy" Crippen Jr. At the time, fans were told he left to pursue a solo career, but years later, the truth revealed something far more disturbing.
I didn't leave the group to pursue a solo career. What happened was I was getting treated bad in the camp, you know.
Behind the fame and flashing lights, Prodigy was living through emotional chaos. As a teenager, he was relocated from his family on the East Coast to Southern California to live under the supervision of the group's team. He was young, isolated, and far from home. The dream that millions admired from afar was, for him, a painful reality. He later shared that he was constantly insulted by members of the camp, even being called names like sociopath. He felt stripped of his humanity, overworked, and emotionally drained.
You know, I was being called names. I was being called sociopath. And at one point, they tried to turn the guys against me. So it caused jealousy in the group.
The fame that once fueled him now became unbearable. He revealed disturbing methods of discipline, claiming their manager, Keisha Gamble, would beat them with a belt. In another instance, he was allegedly forced to eat an enormous plate of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches surrounded by candy as punishment for liking sweets. Prodigy was a minor, living through something no child should ever experience.
Left the group. Yeah. The real reason of why you left. I mean, you spoke the truth, but we want to know all the truth now. No slices no more.
well, me, like, I feel like I don't want to talk too down on.
I was being called names, you know, by the camp, people in our camp, you know, just like I wasn't even no human being, you know, and I was only like, what, probably 14, 15 at the time.
The tension grew worse when he realized there were attempts to turn the other members against him. The manipulation caused jealousy and division among the boys, tearing away the brotherhood they once had. Even within his family, producers allegedly edited footage to create rifts between his parents, adding more emotional confusion. Eventually, the pressure became too much. Depressed and drained, Prodigy walked away for the sake of his sanity. His departure left the group without its primary vocalist, and the effects were immediately visible. Fans noticed that the remaining members, Ray Ray, Rock Royal, and Princeton, were lip-syncing to Prodigy's recorded vocals, or simply dancing. The illusion of unity was slipping. Not long after, chaos struck again. Crisanto Rock Royale August, known for his wild charm and energy, became the center of a public scandal. In December 2014, he was fired after a viral video showed him brutally beating a man he claimed owed him $10. Soon after, he was accused of stealing a producer's BMW during a studio session. The incident led to his arrest for robbery and battery, and he was later sentenced to 2 years in prison. He was only 16 years old, and his downfall marked a dark chapter for the group. In a desperate move to save face, management brought Prodigy back. Fans thought it was a reunion, but he quickly realized he was being used as a placeholder to distract from Rock Royal's troubles. He performed a handful of shows and quietly left again. Soon after, Mike River Martin joined as Rock Royal's replacement, followed by Elijah E.J. Johnson, a former Kids Bop singer who stepped into Prodigy's old role. But the chemistry was gone. By 2015, Rayon Ray Lopez had reached his breaking point. The constant pressure, poor management, and the loss of brotherhood had taken a toll on him. After surviving a terrifying car accident, Ray said it felt like a message from God. He admitted he had battled depression and even suicidal thoughts during his time in the group. The accident made him realize he was living someone else's dream. He later said, "If I had died that day, I would have been a piss angel because I never got to be myself."
That was it. Oh God, are you okay? What do you do? I was like, nah, I'm not anything. Honestly, I just need to be out of this group. Like, honestly, I can't do this no more. Like, no, it's the accident. That's, you know what I mean? They were saying like I was dismantled, whatever they wanted to say. But I knew, because I was already done with it for so long.
He accused the team of sabotage and claimed executives at Sony had blocked his solo opportunities, including potential roles in The Get Down and Static Shock. Disillusioned, he decided to walk away for good. And much later in an interview, he explained why he had to leave.
Was it hard leaving MB? No, it wasn't hard leaving MB. Because I made the decision, you know, with just like my heart, it was like a real pure decision that I needed to make. I think, like I said, I just want to create how I feel, how I think music should sound.
By then, the group had fallen apart internally. Members accused the management, especially Keisha Gamble, of manipulation and favoritism, particularly toward Princeton. What was once a brotherhood had turned into silent resentment. With only Princeton left from the original lineup, Mindless Behavior tried to keep the brand alive. In 2016, they released their final album, Official MB Music, but it failed to recapture the magic. The sound was more explicit, their image darker, and fans struggled to connect. Their 2016 tour was canceled, and the independent film Misguided Behavior couldn't revive their legacy. By early 2017, Mindless Behavior was officially over. After the breakup, the members tried to pursue solo paths, but without the backing of a major label, their efforts faded quietly. Years of hard work, fame, and sacrifice were reduced to nothing more than nostalgia. The collapse of Mindless Behavior wasn't just the end of a boy band. It was the unraveling of 4 young lives, shaped by control, pressure, and silence. When the music stopped and the lights dimmed, the truth began to surface. Behind every public scandal and broken promise were deeper wounds, pain that fame couldn't disguise, and manipulation that had gone unchecked for years. They weren't just breaking up, they were breaking down. And as the noise faded, the emotional scars began to speak louder than the music itself. The story of Mindless Behavior isn't just about bad luck or poor choices. It's a haunting reminder of how young talent, especially without parental guidance, can be exploited and manipulated. Protection can be molded, used, and discarded by an industry built on image. Behind their polished smiles and matching outfits were boys struggling to survive a system designed to break them. For Prodigy, the weight of leadership became unbearable. As the group's main voice, he carried every note, every expectation, and every criticism. Away from his family, surrounded by adults who treated him like property, he began to lose himself. The fame that once felt like a blessing turned into a trap one lined with manipulation, isolation, and quiet suffering.
No, I'm not like that. Like, we got taken advantage of, and yeah, man, yeah.
He would later admit that he cried often, questioning why he felt more like a product than a person. "I didn't leave the group to go solo," he said years later. "I left because I was being treated badly in the camp." Those words revealed the darker side of their success in an environment where children were disciplined with belts, publicly humiliated, and mentally exhausted by the constant pressure to perform. When Prodigy returned briefly after Rock Royal's firing, he believed maybe things had changed that time, and experience had softened the edges, but he quickly realized it was all for show. He was brought back only to calm the fans, to keep the brand alive long enough for management to find a replacement. He performed 8 shows and left again, unpaid and unappreciated. That was when the illusion completely shattered. He wasn't a member of a brotherhood. He was a pawn in a business plan. While Prodigy's pain played out quietly, Ray Ray was dealing with his own internal collapse. To the outside world, he was the heart of the group, charming, quick on his feet, always smiling. But behind closed doors, he was battling depression, anxiety, and a deep sense of emptiness. The fame that once lifted him up now suffocated him. After a terrifying car accident flipped his world upside down, literally Ray Ray said he took it as a message from God. He realized how close he had come to dying without ever truly living. "If I had died that day," he confessed, "I would have been a piss angel. Because I never got to be me." That quote summed up everything wrong with Mindless Behavior's journey. These were boys with no ownership of their lives. Every lyric, every outfit, every move was someone else's idea. Ray Ray's breaking point wasn't just emotional, it was professional. He accused the bad team of sabotaging his solo career, claiming executives blocked him from roles in the Get Down and Static Shock opportunities that could have changed his life. Whether it was greed or control, the message was clear. No one was allowed to shine outside the box they were built in. Years later, when asked if he'd ever return to Mindless Behavior, he calmly said he wasn't interested. He had finally moved on.
If it was a reunion, you know, to kind of bring back the tour, kind of like a Scream tour type thing we did. Yeah. If the bag is cute.
Yeah, I respect it. So it's about the money.
It's about the bag. Besides that, I'm not interested.
Meanwhile, the group's public image was imploding. Rock Royal's legal troubles sent shockwaves through their young fan base. A viral video of him assaulting a man, followed by his arrest for robbery, turned the once wholesome group into tabloid material. For parents who once trusted them as role models, Mindless Behavior suddenly represented everything they feared about child stardom violence, rebellion, and broken promises. Rock Royal's sentencing at just 16 years old marked the symbolic end of their innocence. By the time EJ and Mike River joined, it no longer felt like the same group. The chemistry that once defined them had vanished. Their third album, Official MB Music, tried to pivot toward a mature sound, but fans didn't connect. The music was different. The energy was gone. Even the lyrics once about crushes and teenage love became darker, more explicit, almost unrecognizable. When their No Parents Allowed tour was abruptly canceled, the silence said everything. The dream had finally died. By 2017, the group dissolved quietly with no announcement, no farewell performance. Just silence where the screams of thousands of fans once echoed. Each member tried to move on. Some pursued solo music. Others stepped away from the spotlight entirely. But none of them ever reached the same heights again. The bond that once made them unstoppable had been replaced by scars that fame could never heal. Mindless Behavior wasn't just another boy band that fell apart. They were a case study in what happens when young black artists are manufactured, marketed and discarded by an industry that thrives on youth but rarely protects it. Their rise was fast, their fall was tragic, and in between those two extremes was the painful truth. 4 boys who gave everything they had, until they had nothing left to give. But before the heartbreak, before the fights and legal chaos, there was the dream, bright, clean, and full of excitement. To understand how everything fell apart, we have to rewind to where it all began. It was 2008 in Los Angeles, a city built on talent and illusion. 2 seasoned music producers, Walter Millsap and Vincent Herbert, were searching for something new, a group that could capture the energy of New Edition and the polish of B2K, but for a new generation raised on YouTube and Twitter. They weren't just looking for singers, they wanted stars. Auditions were held across the country, pulling in hundreds of kids with big voices and even bigger dreams. Out of that crowd, 4 boys stood out for their charisma and raw potential. Craig Prodigy Crippen Jr., Rayan Ray Ray Lopez, Crisanto Rock Royal August, and Jacob Princeton Perez. Each brought something unique: Prodigy's powerhouse vocals, Ray Ray's effortless dance style, Rock Royal's street energy, and Princeton's cool, poetic edge. Together, they became Mindless Behavior.
Dismantle whatever they wanted to say, but I knew because I was already done with it for so long. You know what I mean? And yeah.
But okay, now we doing more. Okay, hold on.
From the start, their training was intense, closer to a boot camp than a band rehearsal. They were drilled in choreography for hours daily, rehearsing until their bodies ached. Every detail, from their hairstyles to their social media posts, was controlled. They were told how to speak, how to move, and what to wear. They were barely teenagers, yet being molded like professionals. What the world saw as preparation was, for them, transformation. By 2010, all that work paid off. They signed to Vince Herbert's Streamline Records, an imprint under Interscope. That same year, they began performing in local schools and community centers across Los Angeles, building a passionate grassroots fan base. The response was electric. The chemistry between them was undeniable, playful, confident, and fresh. Then came their debut single, My Girl. Released on August 24th, 2010, the song became an instant teen anthem, catchy, flirty, and tailor-made for social media.
Girl, my girl, she loves me. She hit me all the time. She be texting me.
While it didn't crack the Billboard Hot 100, it soared on R&B charts and online, giving them their first real taste of success. Soon, they were opening for Backstreet Boys on the This Is Us tour, and later for Justin Bieber's My World Tour and Jason Derulo. For 4 boys who had only dreamed of being on stage, life was now a blur of rehearsals, interviews, and screaming fans. In late 2010, they performed My Girl on The Today Show, a moment that officially launched them into mainstream America. Everywhere they went, the crowd was massive. At one signing event, thousands of fans swarmed the building until police were forced to shut it down for safety. By 2011, Mindless Behavior had achieved what few young acts could. They weren't just opening for stars, they were becoming the stars. Their follow-up single, Mrs. Right, featuring Diggy Simmons, shot up the R&B charts, landing them on television, radio, and magazine covers. The video, directed by Brett Ratner and featuring LL Cool J and Mike Epps, cemented their crossover appeal.
It's Mrs. Right.
Their debut album, One Girl, dropped in September 2011 and debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200. Each member graced a separate cover of the CD, turning their release into a collector's item. Though Prodigy carried most of the lead vocals, every boy had a moment to shine. They soon embarked on the Scream Tour, followed by their own One Girl Tour in 2012, performing in over 25 cities. By then, their music videos had surpassed 100 million views on YouTube. At their peak, they joined Janet Jackson's Number Ones tour, a milestone that marked their arrival as legitimate performers. Their choreography was crisp, their fanbase unstoppable. They were living every young artist's dream. But fame moves fast, and pressure moves faster. In 2012, a small misstep became their first public controversy. During the BET Awards, while presenting with comedian Mike Epps, Ray made a joke referencing Lauryn Hill's tax problems. The crowd laughed, but cameras caught Beyoncé's disapproving expression. The backlash was immediate. The boys later apologized online, saying it was a bad joke they hadn't written themselves, but the moment revealed how easily the industry could turn on them. Undeterred, the group dove into their second project, All Around the World. The album debuted even higher, number 6 on the Billboard 200, but the magic was fading. The lead single, Keep Her on the Low, struggled to connect. A feature film documentary and a massive 2013 tour couldn't stop what was coming. For the first time, fans noticed something different. Prodigy's smile wasn't the same. The chemistry that once defined them was slipping. Beneath the surface, exhaustion and tension were beginning to take hold. The golden age of mindless behavior had reached its peak, and the descent was already waiting on the horizon. The story of mindless behavior isn't just about music. It's about what happens when youth, fame, and control collide. They began as kids with dreams, voices barely mature, smiles still innocent, and were turned into a polished product for mass consumption. For a moment, they were unstoppable. Sold-out tours, Billboard success, millions of fans screaming their names. But the world didn't see what it cost.
And you can hit me back with the less than symbol number 3. I got a clue.
Behind the perfect choreography and coordinated outfits were young men slowly losing their identities. Their names became trademarks. Their creativity was filtered through contracts. And every time they tried to take ownership of who they were, someone reminded them that they didn't own themselves. When the lights dimmed, what remained was trauma, emotional, financial, and psychological. Prodigy spoke openly about being pushed past exhaustion, about management that silenced him when he tried to express pain.
I was losing myself. Like, I didn't even know who I was at one point. And just a couple days ago, I just broke down crying.
Ray, in a later interview, compared his near-car accident to the band's crash, a collision between innocence and exploitation. Rock Royal's life spiraled into legal trouble, and Princeton, once the group's philosopher, drifted between music and activism, speaking on self-worth and survival. Each of them walked away, scarred but wiser, forced to rebuild lives that had been constructed for them since childhood. What makes mindless behavior's downfall so haunting is that it mirrors the fate of so many young acts before them. Overworked, underpaid, and emotionally drained. But unlike others, their story happened in the full glare of social media. Their every move, tweet, and mistake was amplified, analyzed, and mocked by the same audience that once adored them. They weren't just losing a career, they were losing their childhood. And yet, their influence remains. Ask anyone who grew up between 2010 and 2015. Mindless Behavior was more than a group. They were a cultural movement. They inspired a generation of young black teens to believe that fame was possible, that rhythm and talent could make them seen. Their dances went viral before TikTok existed. Their fashion shaped youth trends long before influencers became a job. Even now, their songs resurface online, nostalgic reminders of a time when pop and R&B fused effortlessly. But beneath the nostalgia lies a painful truth. Those smiles were never free. Mindless Behavior became both a dream and a warning proof that fame can give and take everything. Their rise reflected the power of teenage talent. Their fall exposed the machine behind the glitter. And perhaps that's their true legacy. Because when you listen closely to their music now, past the hooks, past the harmonies, you can still hear the sound of four boys trying to be heard in a world that didn't listen. Mindless Behavior didn't disappear. They grew up. And in doing so, they exposed an industry that never wanted them to. Their story is more than a cautionary tale. It's a mirror, a reminder that behind every perfect pop act lies a fight for humanity, voice, and freedom. In the end, they were never mindless. They were misunderstood, and they were brave.